My name is Erwin Ironstone, and I'm here to talk about one type of justice in America. It's one that is very rarely spoken about. Okay, the topic that I'm going to talk about is assisted suicide. I know if you do a Google research on the internet and you put in assisted suicide, it comes up with lots and lots of hits. Most of them, however, don't really talk about assisted. They talk about how to stop someone from committing suicide. I don't think that's the proper forum when you put in assisted suicide. But it goes more or less into our culture and what I guess society and religion believes is proper. So today I'm going to give a little bit of information about assisted suicide. In the United States, only 5 states allow it. And the assisted suicide is really for those who are terminally ill, or doctors think are terminally ill, and who want to be able to end their life without pain or suffering. Now, that's the societal norm. I know many religions don't allow it and say you'll go into hell or purgatory, but the reality is that there are lots of people who might want to try assisted suicide under the particular conditions where, they feel it's appropriate outside of the medical profession. In the past, we had someone called Dr. Kevorkian who used to help people, but he was convicted and put in jail, and I don't know where he's rotting away today. But that was one approach, and I was only thinking about what the impact without assistance is. Evidently, in the United States, 19 out of 20 suicides don't work. For whatever reason, sometimes people blow half their head off, sometimes they take pills and the pills aren't sufficient to kill them, so they become vegetables as far as their body and functions go. Now, no one talks about those people because, given the fact that they're supported by our healthcare system, very few people care what happens except possibly their immediate family, and frequently not even their immediate families. So one of the suggestions is, if someone wants, to commit suicide, should they be helped? What things should be made available to them, and who should make that determination? Okay. We talked about the 19 of 20 that fail, and many of them try again, because there are people who try 3, 4, 5, 6, and more times until they get it right or until they become vegetables. Now the question is, what choice do people have, and what people might want assisted suicide or help in assisting in suicide, and what does that help consist of? I know we have the death penalty, and the death penalty is where society picks a function or a way to kill someone. And I guess what I'm suggesting is, what if someone is in an age-old home for the those who are sick, those who are suffering some type of dementia, what do we do with them and how do we care for them? What rights do they have? And the answer is they don't have many rights. They have very few choices as to what happens with them. And the question there is, are they competent at any time to say, I don't want to live like this anymore, I don't want to eat, I don't want to take any medications because they're just going to prolong a life that I don't want to continue. And that's an issue, and I think it should be raised, and the reason I raise it under the assisted suicide is these people can't really do it themselves, and yet they may very well be competent enough to say, I don't want to continue living anymore. Who makes the determination? In some countries, I know Belgium just passed a law recently that allows people who are depressed to basically get assistance in committing suicide. And I think that's sort of an interesting impact. In United Kingdom or in Great Britain, it's not allowed, so that's something off the table. Well, what happens if in the past you've been able to make food for yourself and you no longer can do that? You have to eat whatever they give you, and you have to do basically, for the most part, what they tell you to do. You have no choice as to where to go or what to do, or it's a very limited choice, and it's sort of putting someone in a warehouse, waiting for them to die, and having society pay for it. Now, one alternative is if someone wants to commit suicide, why not give them the drugs that are painless and give them a choice as to how they should terminate their life. If you look it up on the web, they give you 10 ways that most frequently are used, and but they're really incomplete. They don't give you specifics about what to do or how to do it, and I think that's something that should be looked at. People should be able to say, look, I need help in terminating my life, and therefore I'm requesting help. Will you give it to me? And right now it's a very difficult situation because our society is such that it doesn't allow assisted suicide. Okay, that's, I guess, my first page. Question is, what type of help should be given? Occasionally doctors will be asked or ask the family, do you want to, eliminate life support, or DNR, do not resuscitate? And the people would say if that's the life that that person is going to have from now on, either bedridden or basically a vegetable, many families might say, yes, please do not resuscitate, do not give medication. Someone doesn't ask for food, don't give them the food. But that's against the law in this country, and sometimes I guess the result is that people die much more slowly and in a much more difficult way than if some type of assisted suicide were available. And why is this? I guess it's because of our culture, the religions in this country, and I guess, sometimes just depression. And at what point do you say depression is sufficient? I know, for example, in divorce actions, men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women who usually get the children. And I guess one of the things a person has to do is make a determination as to why they want to do it. How do you do it successfully? And it's not easy to do it successfully because the methods are insufficient and don't give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it. Some people say it's a selfish act because you leave people behind who are devastated, who I guess want to help you. In any case, why should it be planned and why should it be assisted? Well, planning would mean that the will is in order. An estate is established so that you can take advantage of any tax consequences. There aren't any screw-ups that leave a person in worse shape than they would be in if they were successful. What are some of the methods? Some of the methods are alcohol with pills, sleeping tablets, although many of them are no longer easy to get, guns, which are a violent way and also not always successful, hanging, drowning, jumping off bridges or tall buildings, but realize that these are not painless in any ways. And the question is, why shouldn't those, who want to die and want assisted suicide be allowed to do it? I was thinking of other people who might want, for example, prisoners who are locked up in jail might want suicide rather than to live their lives in seclusion and basically become victims of dementia where they can't get out and yet they have no way to say, I'd like just to end it. At one point you used to be able to volunteer for drug tests as a prisoner, and sometimes that would function in the same way. It would in fact be committing suicide, but helping society. But I think those are also ways that are not painless, and they're not easily available to people in old age homes, people who have dementia, people who don't want to live the life that they're living in this society. Okay, if you have comments, please feel free to write them and direct others to websites that not only support assistance to prevent, but support assistance to commit. Thank you very much.